Hey, everybody. All three of you, welcome to our live modeling this week. This week we've got the ever effervescent Nick joining us again.
Hello. I'm here.
Nick is stepping in, going to be running our sound panel and providing us with his witty banter. And of course,
Wah, wah.
and that lovely voice is, as you all know, Jody,
Does not I don't provide witty banter, so
Oh.
that's why we use Nick.
and is not effervescent.
No, I will. I'll do my best to not make fun of you any more than I normally do.
Always, don't make fun of me less than you do, because then it feels weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to do that.
Just the right amount. So yeah, welcome to the live modeling this week. I think Aaron announced this on our Instagram. I saw something about it, and he said this too. But my understanding is this is one of the most requested models that we've had since we started doing this, and there's a really good reason why we have not tackled the Sydney Opera House yet. There's actually lots and tons of good reasons why this is going to be kind of fun and may go down in a flaming wreck. We'll see. But
There's
yeah,
always time to screw up. You've got 2 hours to screw up as much as you want,
no
or
problem.
to thrive, I guess.
I can usually
just
do
gonna
that in a
mention-
few minutes.
I'm gonna just mention real quick because I just saw Ansi posted a picture informing us that the roof forms are spherical for the opera house, and it kind of shows how the pieces would be cut out of a hemisphere.
Yeah,
It's actually kind of cool looking. Is this something you already figured out in your research?
it is. In fact, I'm going to be relying on that heavily in our creation of these shells. So one of the things about this that's kind of fun, so when you find pictures like that, or you find, because if you're going to model something like this, you go out and you start doing your search, and you can find some plan views and you can find some elevation views, but as you can see, the actual opera house, both the larger and the smaller one, are at angles to this platform that they're sitting on. So your section might be, it's hard. I think there are some drawings available out there, but the other thing that happens is that the original drawings by, and I apologize if I say his name incorrectly, Jorn Utzon, the architect who designed this, as they tried to figure out the shells and the geometry and how to actually build this, they went through multiple iterations. So one of the things you'll see out there is you'll see iterations, and you're not always sure if you're seeing an iteration drawing or an actual drawing as it is. Kind of. Let's see. But the same is true if we look. So this is probably what you're seeing or is being shared out there, Jody, is there's a number of examples. In fact, my understanding is there's a kind of little platform at the Opera House itself that shows something similar to this, that shows that all the shells were created from a sphere. And some of these, they'll show kind of like how it is that... then you'll see some drawings like this, which again show the shells, but I don't know. Jody, Nick, could either of you interpret this into like something that is usable?
Give me 5 minutes in SketchUp. I'll figure it out. It doesn't look like it should be that hard.
Exactly. That's the thing, is that there's this was finally the image that for me that cracked it, and I'm going to show you why this made it feasible to draw the shells. But even this one doesn't match up with, for example, say this one. that says the large shell is 73 degrees, this one's 45, 62, and 83, is not the same as what this is. I've measured them. So which one's correct? And that one, and that one, and that one. So all that to say, what we're going to do today is kind of get, an approximation of the opera house. And my hope is to take it kind of like what an architect's model or a maquette would be, and then maybe at the end, if we have some time, we'll actually drop it into V-Ray and see if we can model
V-Ray.
it. V-Ray it kind of like it was. So we won't get into a high level of detail. We'll get sort of just into a sort of massing level of detail because we'll spend a fair amount of time getting these shells in just the basic form correct. But that's what we're going to do.
Just in an effort to take some of the load off, it looks like Jorn Utzon passed in 2008, so chances are pretty good he will not call you out if your percentages are off, or your degrees.
Well, my understanding
That being said,
is that they have actually enlisted his son, who's also an architect, to help redo some of the interior, which was not all done with his original vision. Some of the interior was finished out in ways that didn't reflect the original vision of Jorn Utzon. So they're working with his...
It's had an unfinished basement for 50 years.
Oh, no, that's just you and me.
In chat said that he's at 4 a.m. from Sydney.
Oh, man.
No pressure.
Holy moly.
You got this. You got this.
Do it.
Just click a few buttons.
I hope after this that you'll enjoy going back and getting some sleep. But thank you. So the part of the reason, just as a quick look, if you can see how this one shows, actually, it gives us lines that shows where you cut through the sphere. Like we look straight down, and part of the reason is some of the images you can find, you don't know if they're orthographic or in perspective, but this one also gives us cutting angles, and we're going to use those. Those are going to be important. What do you say?
Mariconi was wondering if you could sort of talk about what it's like using that wonky mouse of yours while modeling, because he's looking at getting one.
This is referred to as a vertical mouse, and for those of us, like if you use flat mouse for a long time and you start to get kind of this, I like it quite a lot. It's fairly easy to use. So I don't know what else to say about it. It's just a vertical mouse, and it's just a different way to hold your hand that's a little more natural. I find it very comfortable.
It doesn't feel doesn't feel weird to use versus a flat mouse.
It doesn't cramp.
You've been using it long enough.
Yeah, doesn't cramp my style.
Yeah. Oh, Aaron making stuff is on. He wants to know why you're not done yet.
Oh, because I was like totally enraptured with this Instagram account where this guy's like modeling stuff in SketchUp and then casting it in resin. It's insane. Everybody should go check out Aaron Making Stuff Instagram account because the guy's a genius. Maybe a mad evil genius, but a genius.
We'll see if maybe this will inspire him to create a Sydney Opera House, like cast that. Huh?
Right.
Okay, so your process is literally you're going to create a dome and then cut the chunks for the roofs.
That is correct. We are going to create a dome, and
is it 4 roofs per building? Because there's 3 buildings.
Yes, but as best I understand, the smaller they're identical. You know, this one's smaller, and if they're not identical, we're certainly going to make them so. And this one out here, we'll use some of these existing roof forms if we get to this one.
Okay. That one looks like an attic kid. Like they're just later on, they're like, oh man, we forgot to put it in place for kids to watch opera. So then they made a little baby one.
Yeah. Also, if this looks enough like a SketchUp model, maybe I am done and we can just deceive everybody and then go out to lunch, right? Look at what I made.
I mean,
All right.
that is why we were originally part of Google, was we were supposed to inspire people to create buildings in SketchUp to put in Google Earth. So, you
know. We're going to start out building this kind of at a scale that I'm just going off of some information I could find. So this sphere is supposed to be...
So I don't know if you saw different revisions of all this stuff, but Philip H. said he's looking at the Ove Arup book, which says that the final version roof shell was revision M, dated 1962-63. That's too much information for you.
I'm gonna toss this out, and we're gonna go with revision M.
Do you know which revision one you have there is?
No, but I do know that this came from this image. This illustration came from, my understanding is, from Arup and from how they originally helped to sort it out. So.
Okay. All right, I'll stop asking you questions. You just make this happen now.
So let's. So I've got it at the correct size, and yeah, let's take this sphere. Let's make a copy over here.
According to the Googlepedia, this was took 14 years to build it.
And again, everybody out there can, when looking into this, not only did it take that long, but it was, of course, like any project that's this dynamic, it was vastly over budget, over schedule, and they kicked out Bjorn, before it was even finished. So it's finished by other people. Other people came into the government that said, we're not going to deal with this project anymore, and they kicked him out. It sounds like it's a really interesting story.
Maybe there's a nice documentary somewhere about it.
I bet there is. Okay, so just because we're going to create all our shells out of this, I've made this sphere like 160 segments. I've made this arc. What did I make it? 48. So I'm going to create a lot of detail in here because we're going to need that. But so if we look at this, you can see we've got a fair amount of polygons because we're going to need them. Okay. Get that back. And then this image, I might make a copy of it. But I'm going to blow this image up and then actually project it onto that dome. So let's explode the image. Let's see if the texture is projected. That's what we want.
Oh, well, this is not how I was expecting you were going to go about doing this.
Oh, what'd you think? I'm gonna sample, paint. See, that's not projected.
So there's this fellow Eric Sargent asking if you're using a vertical mouse. Isn't he supposed to be on break?
Yes. think it's getting picky. Is it getting picky at what I'm sampling? I like my vertical mouse projected. Let's try that again. Oh, you know what? Let me get into the actual surface. Sample paint. There. I was painting the shell, the group shell. So that works. Okay. So good. We've got that on there.
Is Eric, is he the voice in all of the campus classes, or is he...
So Eric has done... No, I stick mostly to the fundamentals, and Eric has done all of the very cool stuff that is like landscape and rendering and Photoshop. And by the way, if we do get to V-Ray and Eric is still around, he's going to pull his teeth out at how badly I use V-Ray. So that'll be fun. Like if we could hear people screaming, you could hear like in the distance, ah!
Sort of like
awesome.
Sort of like that scene in The Princess Bride, whenever
oh yeah,
Wesley's getting tortured and you can just hear him screaming all across the countryside.
That's right. It is the
That's just
sound
up
of
1 year of
ultimate
your life.
suffering.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's going to be. It's the sound of ultimate suffering.
Well, so there's a good chance you just scared him off and he won't be here when you get to that point. If you get to that point.
If is
Nice thing is
fair.
the nice thing is that whenever you get done, you don't have to worry about messing around with landscape too much because it's literally a flat pier.
Oh, that part's true, actually. But that goes back to my original plan, which is very much a recognition of how much time we have and a cop-out to be like, we're going to do, a massing model level of detail on this. So... all right, so that should make sense. We're going to need to divide this sphere up. And then the thing, when I was trying to figure out how to do this, what becomes a little bit tricky is if you use any of these other images. Again, let's say we pull this one up from Arab. And what you need to be careful of is I made the mistake, this top part of this shell is the top where it joins, so it has to be a straight edge, and you're looking at this and obviously it looks curved, and you'd be tempted even to be like, okay, I'll use like Fredo's tools on surface and draw an arc or something, but this is this has to be reflective of a straight cut through the sphere, and in order for these pieces to line up correctly. And that was kind of a key piece of figuring this out, is that it all depended on finding this image that would give me those indications. So let's see what we mean here. So let's take this first one, and I'm going to use the rotated rectangle. This is so cool. Using the rotated rectangle, I can zoom in and be like, okay, we need to cut, say, from here. I'll click here, and I'll do a third click down here. Now, I'll do that, I think you can do it again, but essentially, we've created a rectangle that aligns exactly with that cut right through it. So if I hide that for a second, align the axis to this, which means I can use the scale tool and go boom. So now we've got all the pieces in place, and we could go to the sphere right click, say intersect with model.
So this is one of those cases where solids, this is actually still a viable tool, even though solids modeler or solid tools accomplish so much.
Yeah, I mean, you could make this work with solid tools, but I think it would be more work.
Yeah.
So I copied it. I jumped out of the group. I'm going to paste in place and move this. Let's say, again, we're at large scale, 1,000 feet. Group it. And then I'm going to undo because I don't want these cuts here. So I'm going to copy this and then undo back to before we'd cut that. Paste in place to paste that back in. So we've got it. And then we can get rid of that one. We don't need it anymore. Don't need this one anymore either. And that's the process. That's what we're going to do. I looked into Fredo's, you would think, well, if it's a straight line, Fredo's tools on surface might work. But the trouble is, like if we start drawing, yeah, it draws a straight edge, but we can't, I don't have control over how it cuts through that sphere. So, so I don't know. I'd be curious if anybody out there has kind of a different recommendation. But for me, I found, I'll show this again, that if I just use the rotated rectangle, I can click on pieces that are essentially on this line. 1, 2, 3. And that will create that rectangle that's what we need. Uh-oh, I think I drew that inside. I don't want that inside. I'm gonna make sure that's outside, paste it. And you can see if I use the scale tool just with the axis, so I've got to also align the axis each time. So yeah, this gets a little bit, for a few minutes we're kind of doing this repetitive process, but once you get into the groove, it's not so bad.
It's groovy. Maybe that's what we need, some background, groovy background music.
That's right.
Nick, do you have anything groovy? I'm just kidding. You don't have to play music. I caught Nick off guard. I saw him all of a sudden make a blank stare. Huh?
What'd you ask? Sorry.
I said that he's doing groovy stuff. We should have some groovy background music.
Oh, groovy background music. Oh man, I only got this.
Nice. I mean, that's good, but not Tyson level of groovy.
No, we need something better.
Oh, I could groove to that. What are you talking about?
Okay. Yeah, this is Tyson space. Aaron really liked your use of the rotated rectangle, BT dubs.
Oh, sweet. Aaron,
it's interesting. Oh no, stop. Aaron.
I was gonna say Aaron was getting shade thrown at him.
Why?
For doing the opera house, something that he has repeatedly, and again, I defend this, I endorse this, said no to. See why? Like, it's completely dependent for me on one method that found one image that made it work. And when we get this over, you'll see that it doesn't even match up with the sections and elevations perfectly. Like, this is not going to be a perfect match. I just don't care, but anyway, sorry. What were you saying?
I'm sorry, were you talking to me? No, I was going to say...
I went on a rant, totally lost you.
No, I was going to say it's interesting, like, modeling this, like, in 1973 when this was built, or 1959 when this construction was started, then that presumes they had already done the entire design, and nobody was using CAD in 1958 or whenever they were designing this. So it's curious to see like their physical model that cut chunks out, and because I bet this was a challenge to even make the scale model, like trying to figure out how to do it. And once they finished that, they probably just made a bunch of construction workers just so angry when they're like, "We want you to design this," and there's some dude just looking at the drawing and being like, "You want this? You want this real? In real space next to the ocean? Are you crazy?"
It is kind of like this. It definitely is this fascinating testament, sorry, of just of some of these people figuring these things out. My understanding again is Arup is a well-known, very large engineering firm today, but it was founded by, and I believe, correct me please, I believe the original founder, Arup, is the guy who figured this out. And like, wow,
Okay.
like he actually figured this out.
So, what's his name? Jorn? Is that the... yeah. So
yeah,
Jorn designed it, but then Arup doesn't figure out how to actually build it.
Yeah. And if you look at the original presentation drawings, the arcs were far more like they were lower. They're definitely not reflective of a sphere like these are.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop asking questions so you can explain the rotated rectangle process. Marconi is not quite sure if he groks what your method is.
Okay. I will happily show that. Let me copy this off and then I'll do one of these again. So let's undo back to so the rotated rectangle, let's reset the axis. The rotated rectangle, typically, you'd see it used like this, where you set a point and then you can rotate anywhere, set another point, and that sets one basis of the rotated rectangle, and then your final point sets the last angle. This is, I don't use it that often, so this was kind of a fun discovery to see how well it worked in this case. Because we have these lines that are guiding us as far as like they're a straight cut through that sphere, like they're showing how that's the cut, a single plane that would cut through that sphere. All we have to do is draw 3 points. So let me turn X-ray on and do this. And so if I pick one point on a line here, another point on that same line, I've created that baseline, which is going to be in that same plane as that cut. And this final edge is not actually drawing to where it reflects on the sphere, but it is just telling us that's the plane needed. So I click there, and then we have, like I say, this line right here. We have that plane. And so to actually intersect this, I do need to align the axis and scale this up. But I hope that you can see that that's now there, right there. I hope that makes sense as far
Yeah, that
as
helped. He
the
didn't
rotated.
see that you were aligning to guides, so it was a good
Yeah.
slow motioned and explained.
And that again, that's why this particular image made. I tried a couple iterations to do these, and I couldn't get it to work. And finally, this one made it feasible, and that's why. So that's actually all we need. We've got our 4 shells over here. Uh-oh. There's our last one. I've got them all over the place because I've been putting my axes all over the place. So let's
You need to clean your axes up.
clean that up. So let's.
So how long did it take you to figure out how to cut? Like, first of all, figuring out that they could cut these chunks out of a hemisphere is already interesting. But I mean, then figuring out how to actually cut the chunks out. How long did it take you?
To you mean this methodology? How do you mean?
Yeah. Yep. How did you figure out how you were going to cut it?
Let's see if I've got. Do I have? So here's an example with a few. This wasn't the only one. So for example, this original image here, where I was playing around with like intersecting triangular pieces through it, and then trying to figure out that last piece. I tried a couple iterations, and again, in this example, say I would do something based on one of the illustrations I could find, and then I would go over and I would try to match it up, and if the illustration was in perspective or something, the thing that had to match up was this top arc, and it just never would. It was it only finally worked when I found this one and kind of experimented and used this method. So how long did it take me? I don't know. I was playing around with this for an hour or two a couple weeks ago, and I finally got something that worked. But I went through multiple things that didn't work.
And then once you cut it successfully, you were just like, yeah, we're doing this on a live stream.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I'm going to drag everybody through my pain, because that's what we do. Okay, so here's the next challenge. So we've got these, right? It's cool. They're derived from a sphere. That's all well and good. You've got to now rotate these up into place. And the rotate tool, I love our rotate tool, but how are you going to do that? Because you need bases of rotation. So this is, again, how I figured out how to do it. I don't know if it's the best, but it's what I figured. So again, the key here is that this top edge needs to meet up with the mirrored shell. So this is the one that ultimately I need to get turned up and lined up with my red axis or green axis. So because it is based on a straight line, I can draw a line here. Should be able to fill a surface. And then, let's see, let's pull this over here. So this would be a multi-step process, but I want to first line this up, let's say with the blue direction. So we're going to take this, use the rotate tool. I'm going to click and drag, because you can create the rotate tool in any orientation if you drag the mouse. I'm going to drag to line it up with that base, then click anywhere on these points and line it up with this edge I just created. And that makes that surface perfectly vertical. So that's one step. Now if I go to the top view, turn perspective off, I'm going to draw another edge here. Use the rotate tool, make sure I'm snapped and stay in the blue direction, and then I want to grab just that point, some point along here, and line it up here. And then I'll finally ungroup this and then group it again, because now my group is aligned with the default red and green axis. So that was the way that I And then when we get this over, we'll actually take this and rotate it based on how it looks right, according to, one of the plans. But that's the shell laid up. And so now everybody gets to, now's a good time to take a potty break, because I'm going to run through that again for all of these. So I got to rotate all these into place. So create a surface.
Let's see, I found another song, so we can play some music.
Nice.
Nice.
Too intense? Too intense.
This is almost 80s level, or 80s music montage level. Like, after this is done, Tyson's going to be like super fit, or he's going to know how to dance or something.
Start doing jumping jacks.
So once you finish one building, is the other one just identical, or like a mirror? All basically laid out the same.
If it's not, I'm going to treat it like it is. So, somebody out there.
For our intentions, yes.
Yeah.
What I like is, how close is this to the bridge that you've already modeled? Can you see them from each other? Can we basically just start to model all of Sydney? Is that just going to be Tyson's new thing?
Why not? There's the
Next
bridge.
up, model the building that they crashed the helicopter into in the Matrix.
Oh. For a second I was thinking one of the Mission Impossibles takes place, I think, in Sydney, but I don't know how much they were in, this was background. But yeah, see, bridge. It's right there.
Yeah. Perfect.
For a second, no, the bridge wasn't the first one I did, but it's funny how much these trusses that cross across. I butchered those right at the end, and I was just sort of mentally like, I'm done, but that still sticks with me as like, oh, those were so terrible.
It's fun to compare the attention to detail on a thing from the beginning of the stream versus the stuff you do at the end of the stream.
Right. When I think to that point, I mean, this is, again, it's all well and good. I found that the process for doing this kind of was interesting enough, but we're going to spend, the first hour just getting 4 shells created and turned up into position. Like, but let's see. Some people might be wondering, sometimes when you use the rotate tool, it will snap right to the red and green like it did there. Sometimes you can do that, and then sometimes, based on, I don't know entirely what circumstances, it's helpful to have a line that you draw to snap to. So I found just useful to just know that you can do both. Let's see. I mean, and this, as an example, this is one of those cases. If I were to try and rotate this, I'm not sure if any of these snaps are giving me what I want. So I like drawing a line to be absolutely sure. So top perspective. This is interesting. We shouldn't be, I've got perspective turned off. We shouldn't be seeing these two lines here. That
So,
is
so Kegi was wondering, but I think
not
Colin actually
vertical.
nailed it. I think Colin nailed it. Kegi was wondering if we saved yet, and Colin said, no, you just saved it as untitled. Right?
Save. I don't have the sound effects.
Thanks,
That's
Kagi.
awesome. Oh, and Lawrence said you missed the rotation.
I think you're right. So there. Ah, see, we were off. Good catch, Lawrence. That's good. We don't want.
Sorry, I didn't mean to play that. I feel like Matt when he just types all the keys and like all of his sound effects go off.
Just like just vomits a bunch of audio into our ears.
It's
So, did you, in your research, did you happen to come across how they ended up manufacturing, like how they made these pieces? Did they make a really, really, really big sphere and cut out these wedges, and then just kind of lower them in place with a crane?
Yes, in fact, what they did is they grew the world's largest orange, and then they cut that out, pieces they needed, and they used that as the basis form to create their concrete.
Nice.
Yeah.
True story. Go look it up in your Guinness Book of World Records.
It's
there.
amazing architect and amazing
Botany.
botany.
Nice.
I think I only think of that because among all the searching, there was probably a drawing on an orange somewhere, or even someone that cut out the slices, because you could go do it on a relatively round orange and get something, Hey, you can make the Sydney Opera House at home. See, with your
I've
kids.
done it before.
Yeah. All right. Okay, we've got our pieces. Awesome. Well, let's see here. Let's add this to the mix. And again, I don't know entirely where this section is cut through or how accurate it is. It's not going to match exactly, but this will be the sort of starting basis that we'll use. So, let's see here. We need some sort of, we don't have a scale on this, darn it. Need some kind of scale. Well, you know what? At this point, I'm gonna go off scale entirely, because we're gonna scale this down once we get to something else. And again, we're working off a series of plans and reference images that may or may not be related. So we'll just make it work. How's that for? I don't know, lazy. Okay, to do this, we need to turn all of these 90 degrees. And let's see. Now I've kind of lost which ones were which. I think this one.
I like how you just keep going back to the little dome too. It's fun to see this top-down perspective.
Right. That looks close. Oh, right. Let's do.
So Keggie's suggestion, I'm sorry, he said this a couple minutes ago, and he's a minute behind you anyway, said triangulate the top corners of the segments in the image to get a center point, and then you can use that for scale.
Help me out, Jay. I'm not sure what.
This is whenever you're trying to figure out how to scale it. When you complained that there's not a scale in your drawing.
Oh.
He's just trying to giving you a way to find a scale.
Well, thank you. See how is that? Did I put the wrong sphere? I gotta look over here.
So that's what like how do you know which piece is which wedge?
That is wrong. You can see by the addition of. I've got this. This one's wrong entirely. I used the wrong cutting edge. Darn it. Okay.
Aaron referred to this as brute force modeling. You just you have to will it into place.
It's true.
Usually whenever that's the case for me, then there's a lot of like mumbling and sort of comments under my breath as I do it. So.
Well, I mean, how much can I cuss? We've got,
Well,
we might have some younger audience here.
As a recovering Mormon, I've heard your non-swear swears, so I know you can get there.
Oh man, you're just tossing out all my past.
Sorry, dirty little secret.
I
think my favorite expression, and you should use this when you're hanging out with your young friends, Nick. If something is kicking your butt, you might say it's really kicking your trash.
Yeah, I'll use that one.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. And then you will immediately get a wedgie and get pushed in like a locker and locked in there.
I feel like that doesn't really happen anymore. No one uses lockers. At least at my school, no one used lockers.
Oh, okay. Well, and I think even by the time I was in high school, I was only having a half locker anyway, so realistically, I couldn't fit in one of those.
Really don't know. Yeah. What would you didn't have lockers either. What would, I mean, you carry your stuff and your day-to-day is not the same, and I don't know. High school these days feels as much almost like college, and you certainly don't have lockers in college. You just carry what you need on the day you need.
Oh, I had a locker in college. I carried it around with me. I just put it on a dolly.
I only ever had one kid get stuck in the locker, and that was under my supervision, which was not great.
Wait.
See, we didn't have to be supervisors when I was in high school.
Yeah, I was being the supervisor, and then one of the kids I was watching just walked into the locker, and then closed the door.
He put himself in there.
Yeah.
See you into school with idiots.
Yeah, they were middle schoolers, so I was like walking them around, and they got lost and then locked themselves in a locker. It was a crazy day.
That feels like there's more to that story. I still don't understand. Who
I was
walks
like walking
himself?
away. I was walking away, and then like two of the kids went, and he was like, "I wonder if I can go in the locker." And he walked in the locker, and then closed the door, and then couldn't get back out.
Nice.
Um,
Well, I hope that he learned a lesson that day.
Yeah, he was all right. We grabbed the janitor, and he opened it.
You probably also learned a lesson that day.
Yeah, keep my eyes on the children.
I feel like there's not a whole lot of lesson when it's like the lesson is middle schoolers. You gotta. I mean, I have middle schoolers. I don't want to just say they're dumb, but you gotta be like, not the best decision maker. Anyway, I don't know of a nice way to say that.
It happens, you know.
That's fun.
Did you figure out that one piece?
Yeah. See, I didn't get this one turned up correctly either. Doggone it. It's simple enough to remake these. I just go and remaking it. I cut it with the wrong plane. So there we go. I think that's right. For anybody that ever requested the Sydney Opera House, are you regretting you regretting it yet? For how slow and sort of plodding
I regret
is? Yep, there you go.
Keggy,
You want... What's that?
Keggy, commenting on stupid kids, said that he had a kid deliberately put their finger in a stapler and then push down to see if it would hurt.
Okay. I had a kid in my class that this was high school. Like, this isn't even a kid. This is like a sophomore or junior. I forget which year it was. And teacher walked out of the room, and they saw like, oh, something was half unplugged. And, you know, he's like, do you dare me to put my tongue on that? Which he did, to be like, do you think it's got juice? Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like...
Yeah, that's one of those stories where when you're trying to explain why girls live longer than boys, that right there that's a perfect example.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I think we've got our stuff in place. Although I'm curious if anybody else has some good stories about the stupidity we do in, school.
I think we all had our fair share.
Yeah.
Peggy did say that he does not regret asking for this. He is pleased with the results so far.
Oh, well, huzzah. Okay.
That kind of looks like it. So here's what's curious about this. It's such an iconic design. Like, whenever I was looking up pictures of the Opera House, like literally their logo is just kind of the top down, just those little wedges, just like 6 or 8 wedges, and you immediately are just like, yeah, it's in the Opera House.
Yeah. No, it is.
It's pretty
hugely iconic and recognizable, definitely. Okay. Let's reset for a second here. Hey, it took us 1 hour to get to this point. Nice. See y'all next week.
Whoa. That's crazy.
That was fun.
So I'm just going to say this out loud because I know you've already got a response comment that Cecil wishes you could model some RuneScape weapons like the Staff of Armadillo or the Godsword. To which I'll say, over in the non-work related space, Tyson models swords on his YouTube channel. So you can go over there and watch. Actually, you don't do a lot with SketchUp though at that point, do you?
I haven't lately, but I have done some video game models, and I have done swords, and I build some wooden swords. So yeah, on my personal, if you want to go just see some fun examples, I just put them up as speed models. Geeks Woodshop. I didn't forget it. I was like, I should have Jody. I shouldn't be plugging my own.
What's my YouTube channel?
You plug it for me, Jody.
Let me go find a link. I'll go the extra mile in my plugging. Oh, sweet.
Don't even worry about it.
All right. So, who was that? So Chodot is asking us to model the Patala Palace. Patala Palace? You ever seen this palace? Are you familiar with the it's in Tibet?
Didn't this come up? And it's like it's a palace made of statues. Like it's
no. This one's not that crazy. It's not that crazy one. This is when you think of like Tibet. I think if you watch 7 Years in Tibet, it's literally like the palace on the front of it. It's pretty straightforward, but it's huge and like literally at the top of a mountain with more stairs than I care to ever go up. I don't know. It's an interesting looking building.
Wow. Okay.
It doesn't look like it'd be as challenging as, like, none of the geometry on it looks particularly tricky. It just looks really vast. Now I'm curious how big this thing is. Looks big. And it was built at 12,000 feet above sea level, so that's big.
Oh. That's something. Here in Colorado, we have what we affectionately refer to, also logically, as 14ers, right? Any peak that goes above 14,000 feet. Which, when you're not in Nepal or somewhere that has the world's tallest mountains, that's high. And so it's a thing to go hike 14ers. And I tried in the winter. I tried to do my first 14er in the winter. And I only got up to probably 12,000 feet before I caved. Because it was so cold and miserable, and I couldn't breathe, and I will own up that I failed.
I feel like you picked the wrong time to do it.
That's true, too.
It's cold at 14,000 feet in the summer. I can't imagine that it's somehow better in the winter.
Yeah, it was brutal. To give this some depth, we're just going to use Fredo's joint push pull and let's see, something like that.
It was commented earlier that you do use a lot of plugins, but shortly after that I was looking at these services thinking, I don't know how you could possibly do this without. I mean, you could do some really tedious stitching, which I'm sure Aaron would like, because that's that's his big thing, stitching. I don't know how else you'd really be able to put any thickness to with this type of shape.
With native tools, I have no idea. I don't think you could copy the shell and then stitch it, as you said. You could do that. But wow, that would be unpleasant. So that's one. We're going to do that to all of our shells.
You're doing all this on your older iMac, right? All your modeling is, or are you on your MacBook?
No, I'm on my iMac, but I got a different iMac a few years, so this is a 2019. It's not old. It's fine. What are you? notice all this, but that bugs me.
Has anyone used the new M1 chip with SketchUp here? In the new MacBooks?
So I personally have a 13-inch M1, and I mean I don't model a ton on it because I have this other one that I work from with a bigger screen, but it runs, from my experience, it runs every bit as good as it does on an Intel Mac. One of these days, we'll have an M1 version of SketchUp.
Yeah, is it still using the Intel? What do they call it? I don't remember.
It's not. It's so that when we have an M1 version of SketchUp, it will be designed to run natively, not to use
their port, or they have a name for it.
Rosetta or Rosetta 2.
One of the things that's I thought we could again just show, because it's a plug-in heavy, but if I look at the hidden geometry here, and the actual building has this sort of like shell. I mean, these are very cool tiles that emerge out. And again, we're not doing that. Again, with the story, there's a whole story about how these were made, and they're all made in, I think, Sweden. They created all these in some factory in Sweden with some technique used specifically for this. But if in our weak imitation, one of the things that we could do is something like this. So let's say I'm going to grab, so I've got hidden geometry on, and we could do a couple things. Because this is based on a sphere, we could create ribs based on a sphere. We could try a few things. If we wanted to do something with the edges, we could do some selection like this and grow our selection. You see, like, this is a way to grow that. What I'm gonna do instead is, if I grab, let me grab down here this edge, and I'm gonna get every other edge like this. Sure. And then under the selection tools, if I right click and it's off the screen.
Bring it back.
If I right click to select, I can say select quad face loops, and that grabs all those edges. Now it's worth checking, at least in this case, to be like, this is not a quad, so I'm going to come up and check and make sure.
In the industry, do they call those like Cincos or Trace? What do you call a five-sided quad?
It's not nearly as fun as what you're saying. It's called an N-gon.
Oh. Yeah, I guess
not nearly as fun.
Ingon sounds like an alien race from Star Trek.
It does. Now, I want to grab some of this too. And the problem, so I'm hesitating because I've already given these depth. So if I go in and try to select more of this, now I've got this, I'm dealing with all of these. So in this case, I think what we're going to do is copy just that one surface off, and we'll make this as its own group. So I'm going to go through that process again real quick. Sorry.
No, and I know we had one question about when the next live will be, and I thought we haven't brought up Fireside Chat. Next week is the final episode of the Fireside Chat series, episode 8 with Luke Whitelock. It's next Wednesday at 12 o'clock Mountain Time. 12 p.m. Mountain Time. If you want to join in there next Wednesday, that'd be pretty cool.
Have we said? I know Aaron has said, like, hey, he does amazing cool stuff with a lot of movies. Most recently, he's been working on the movie Cruella. Are we allowed to say that? He's showing it all over his Instagram, so we can say it. I think it's called Hellman Hall. In the movie, there's this amazing, like, just house, and they have big parties there, and that whole hall he designed and then documented in layout too. Like, it's amazing. So you should check out his Instagram and be there on Wednesday, because it is amazing. At long last, I grabbed all of that stuff finally to, again, use joint push pull and I want to create just a little bit of a raise. So if we turn off shadows, we get that very cool shell. It's not even what is happening at the Opera House, but for our purposes, it's kind of a neat. It'll be nice in the render too. I don't know if we'll go through that process for all 4 of these, because we may not have time, but that's at least one way to do this. So we'll just do it on one of these. Okay.
So, do you know offhand which extensions? Can you rattle off which extensions you've used or you're using as of yet? Yes, you used joint push pull to give thickness.
Joint push pull, and the ability to select quad loops is part
That's
of.
Also from.
It's from TomTom. It is quad tools. So. When we think of like the organic modeling that we do, a lot of times we think of the vertex tools, but the quad tools are important. They're an important complement to. They have a lot of selection tools, so you can work with that. So when I right-click and select, I think these are part of quad tools and not select tools, because TomTom has a selection tools as well. Those are quad tools. I think that's all we've used so far, but we're about to use soapskin too.
Ooh, nice little preview.
Yeah. So when we look at this, so we've got kind of the shells, and we could set those up. The way these shells are connected, and then this interior face, that's what we've got to sort of figure out next. And surely these are also based on spheres, at least partially, but this inner stuff, we're not going to base it on like how it actually might be created as far as spheres go. We're just going to cheat. We're going to make it look right by using soapskin. So let's take this guy.
Now, when you were
Something
looking
like
this up, did you
that.
look at any of the interior pictures? Like how much of the vaulted ceiling is really visible when you're inside the building?
I don't know. I never had ambitions to go inside, as far as like what we're doing here.
Well, yeah, I just wasn't sure if sometimes you see pictures. You didn't mean to, but you see them.
Okay. Um, there's some really
That's okay.
fascinating. I mean, what looks fascinating is especially like the front of this, which again we won't really get into, but yeah, you're clearly seeing a lot of the structure from the inside and stuff. So I don't know. Our friends who are up at 5 a.m. over there may be able to tell us more.
Yeah, I haven't seen him comment since his initial statement, so I feel like there's a good chance he might be sleeping now. He might have passed out at the keyboard.
That sounds reasonable. Okay, so to create this, let's copy these over here. And I've basically got those in place, I think, where we want them. In fact, I'm going to bring that down a little bit. I need just these two shells for now. But it's important that they're the same geometry here, because what we're going to do now is just create a framework that we can stick in between them. I'm kind of looking at time and wondering like how we should shortcut this. We can create kind of a basic seam between them. You can see in the actual one that there's this ridge on both sides, and then this shape that comes down and actually opens up down here. We may not get to all of that. But here's the idea.
Yeah, I guess the question is, do you want this to be put together the right way, or in the most technically correct way, but we might not have time for V-Ray, or do we just kind of get to a point where you can start V-Rayifying it?
Right. Oh, it's not closed.
Oh, that's a great link, Nick. I forgot there's just a playlist we could head off to as well for learning SketchUp.
Yeah, we might have to do a part 2 of this. Who knows? Maybe we'll have Aaron hop in, just like you did with the Vespa.
There you go. Boom.
Is Aaron still on? Can we get him to frantically say no?
I don't see a way to see who else on. So I don't know.
He's probably not. We're probably just saying things to outer space.
Ain't that just the way?
Anyway, once we get this closed loop, if I go to the subskin bubble, and I'm going to turn the iterations up so we have a smoother surface, maybe even like that, and it will create that surface for us that will fill it in. So ideally, we may do something where we create each of these ridge lines and use that. And that would help us create the way that this rises as well. In the interest of time, maybe we won't do that, but I think it would take a little more more care in crafting this. Let's see here what it looks like though. Now another thing, and the angle between these is going to be off too, but another thing that we can do once we've created this is Soapskin will allow us to continue to sort of tweak this. So if I select this surface created by Soapskin, I can go over here to the bubble tool. If I say pressure of, let's use something higher, see how it bubbles up. I have to be careful not to put too much in because it, you know, if I put something in very drastic. So let's take it down to say 5 or 6. Uh-oh. But we can add a little more curvature to it, something like that. We'll leave it like that. I think as we continue, probably will be good if we actually stick this on the base, and because we'll just be kind of tweaking it by eye, not again this just as best as we can. So the base I built yesterday, actually. If we like all things based on kind of just the information I could find, this is sort of a simple model of what the base is, and it's tricky to figure out how this rises, because again, elevations or sections you have, you don't know what angle they're from, you don't know if they reflect a past design or a current iteration. So this is just where we're going to go with. So I'm going to copy this and we'll put both of these in a new file. And these are clearly too big, but that's okay. Again, we'll just sort of eyeball it. That's okay.
It's coming together.
Yeah, we could get ourselves an easy wow moment by just copying this to the other side, and we'll have the most of at least the visual aspect of it.
To the layman, it'll be done. Maybe.
Maybe. Alright, let's make this. So it is angled, something like that. Actually, before we do that, Something like that. It's smaller. And then we've got this one over here, which is even smaller. Yeah, that's mostly it, right?
Save.
Oh goodness.
I feel like we need to record your version of that other version. It might
Yeah,
be better.
then you can live on. We need to do that, Nate. We need to record a few things
Nick.
from you.
Let's call him Nick.
It's alright. It's alright.
He's- I'm sure
Nate's my middle name.
that would be awesome. Nickname.
Nick Nate. What's your nickname, Nick Nate?
I'll do that. I'll send that to Matt next week. Tune in next Friday. Is there a live stream next Friday? Are we doing one next Friday?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, next Friday. We'll have both them on there. Tune in.
Maybe we'll even play them back to back and have people guess.
A little game right in the middle.
Yeah, sure. That'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Do.
Looks pretty good.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Let's just make some connecting pieces. Then we'll call that pretty close.
So, Tyson, you were saying before this started that the architect didn't even ever see the completed building?
That's my understanding.
That makes me sad.
It does.
Or he never saw it in person. I bet he looked it up online, even though he died in the 80s. Probably
Yeah,
used
my understanding is
Australian internet.
he never traveled back to Sydney after he was removed from the project and never saw it fully completed in person.
That's horrible.
That sucks. So I'm going to create this interior, and it's going to, something like that.
Philip did say that is correct. I don't know what you said, but he said it was correct, so that's good. I'm getting the feeling that Philip is a bit of a historian for the Sydney Opera House. He knows a lot about it.
If memory serves, Philip knows a lot. You're from there, right? Because he commented on the bridge too, and had some really good insights. Is it Box that's from there too?
I believe Box is, but Box is usually asleep at this time.
Well,
He's been awake sometimes for some of these shows, but for the most part, yeah, it's really, really early there. Late? It's early. It's early tomorrow. I'm not sure if Philip is there now. I guess he can comment on that, but at the very least, he knows a lot about it. Oh, I think he's probably saying that's correct about the never seeing it. The architect never seeing it. See, it's funny how you just did the flip and then made a copy and bam, I mean, this model's like 98% done now, at least visually, for me to know what I'm looking at.
Like so much, so much preparation. That is too far back. Sorry, but I'm gonna drag everybody through this again. But I suppose again in the sort of better news, like I said, I do believe, again, Philip or somebody jump in and.
Oh, so Philip used to be with Arup.
Oh, no way.
He's okay. So there you go.
That's awesome. So.
I don't know what to actually call that engineering firm. Wait, is it an engineering firm or an architecture firm?
Engineering is my understanding.
Okay. Anyway, yep, that's why he knows it all. I mean, you could certainly pick worse buildings to know a tremendous amount of stuff about. Like the building that they crashed a helicopter in The Matrix. Who cares about that thing? It's just a big old block. No offense to the architect if he or she is here today. Seems unlikely.
I didn't know it was. Is that widely known? I mean, you just know that because that's part of trivia, but they weren't in Sydney in The Matrix.
No, they weren't in Sydney, but it was mostly filmed in Sydney.
Okay, so I didn't know that.
I was probably they used to have these things called like DVD extras or Blu-ray extras whenever movies used to be on discs, and I do believe that's where I probably got that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
And you're the film guy. It says almost all of The Matrix was filmed in the heart of Sydney's central business district.
Crazy.
It's like the Vancouver of Australia. Because everything's filmed in Vancouver. You probably knew that though, right, Nick? Right, Nate?
No, I didn't know that either.
Sometimes, whenever people don't know a thing that I'm saying, then it makes me think maybe I don't know. Maybe I just made this thing up. When I was in fourth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, when I was in fourth grade, I had this dream about this new playground equipment we got at school, and when I got to school that day, I went to class, and I'm like, they installed new stuff, and I managed to get kids to go out into the playground with me, and there was nothing there. So I feel like it's entirely possible. Sometimes I make stuff up. I mean, I definitely make stuff up.
Bye.
Was that an I lied?
It was bye.
I wasn't sure what exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. That one's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, it's it feels like that's just kind of a part of being a soundboard guy. You have to find sounds where you're like, I don't know what this is, but it's interesting. Look at us talking about that.
Thank you.
It's good to be appreciated, right?
Feels great.
Okay. This material's a little distracting, so we're just going to paint generic material on here. For now, we'll come back to that. That's kind of what we're going to do. So let's go through that a little bit more. Let's see, this one's next. Wait a second.
Any?
What? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you.
You have seniority on me. You can go first.
Oh, don't,
Um,
Jody's seniority. Like,
It's fine. I'm always
It's-
making comments about how young Nick is, so it's only fair that he gets a chance to call me old while he's still here.
I'm not calling you old. What are you, like 24?
That's right. That's right.
Just a
At least
little
mentally.
older than me.
just
Yeah. No, so DQ mentioned. Well, so we talked about how Jordan did not get to see the finished version of the Opera House, and then DQ said it was the same for the church in Barcelona. That architect never saw it finished. And I'm thinking he's talking about that one like really crazy church, right? Like,
well, nobody's seen it finished. If you're gonna, right? Like in that
Yeah.
in that sense,
yeah,
it's
not
never
done yet.
finished.
Anyway, so he just suggested that maybe we model that up next.
Oh my gosh, no, that one's Aaron. I'm saying right now, no, and no.
Okay, now I'm done, Nick. Floor is yours.
I just looked that up. That place is crazy.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That is cool.
I think Josh, who you haven't met, probably maybe you met him, maybe you've talked to him, I don't know. Josh on the team here, like right after college, he went over, or maybe it's part of college, he did like a, I don't know, like a study abroad kind of thing with a whole bunch of classmates, and they all went over and they saw that and other stuff. So he had like real pictures and it's kind of touched that particular building. But that's just insane. And it's funny,
Yeah.
right? You just search Barcelona church, and there's only one anybody's talking about.
Yeah, it's that would be a big model.
Every
To say
time I
the
look
least.
at it, I think it looks like a termite hive.
Kind of. Yeah, what's that one fear of like little like holes in like things? I feel like
Oh,
you
I
get
don't know.
that from that.
Oh, is that a real thing? Please look that up. What are you talking?
Yeah,
Like
trypophobia,
trypophobia.
a fear or disgust of closely packed holes. They feel queasy when looking at surfaces that have small holes gathered close together, like honeycomb. Whoa,
Huh.
that's funny. The pictures they post, even like the bubbles on pancakes while you're making them. Man,
Oh, fear of pancakes.
if I ever thought I had it bad, I would hate to be the guy that gets sick looking at pancakes being made.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
So how long have they been building the Basilica de or Sangria? What is it? It's not Sangria. It's Friday afternoon.
Sangria. It's not like hundreds of years, but what is it? It's for the past.
1882. Looks like. Construction started March 19th, 1882.
It is amazing.
Are you on the Wikipedia page?
No, I'm just on Google, but it probably pulled it off the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, so I ended up going to the Wikipedia, and right beneath where it says what the groundbreaking was, the date you just said, it says completed, and then it says after 2026. All right. It's interesting we picked a future date for it to be after. I mean, why not just use today's date? Let that be a rolling date.
They're living in the future.
Ah,
They already
guess so.
know.
Man, yeah, 150 years and they're still going. It's like a pyramid.
The pyramids are still going?
It took a long time to make them.
The
Now, at this
pyramids
point, they're
aren't
ongoing.
finished. Okay.
What the heck? The Great Wall of China was built. Oh, over a period of 200. Okay, so the Great Wall took over 200. Let's see. Yeah, so this is what happens at the end of streams as you start to look up this random trivia on the internet.
That's true.
Okay,
This
it only took 20 years. it only took 20 years to build the Great Pyramid, so what the heck, people?
20 years. Wow. How much forced labor is that? To be able to pull that off in 20 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay out of the speculation on that. 'Cause I got no idea. Man, though, just looking at this church, there's too many organic shapes in the Sagrada Familia, Basilica de la Sagrada Familia.
I mean, look at that opera house, though.
That's true.
Man,
Boom.
sweet.
Oh, Keggy said that it actually didn't use any slave labor because they were built by aliens, Tyson.
Oh.
And we're going to
presume
Good point.
Yeah, I'm going to presume that the aliens were all doing it of their own free will.
Aliens being an advanced race, yeah.
Probably they just flew over it with their giant space ship, I guess, and used their giant space alien 3D printer and printed it. So literally, some dude was just kind of modeled it at home, and they're like, we just need a place with a bunch of sand. They're like, well, I know about this planet. Yep. Nailed it.
It's crazy.
Out. Yeah. Got it all figured out. Okay, what is happening right now, Tyson?
What's happening is, we're freestyling a little bit, and that means, stuff isn't matching up, and oops. So I'm sort of just looking around a little bit and being like, all right, what's going on here? Looks like we can.
So it's like the 3D modeling version of jazz right now.
Yeah, like that.
Nice.
Except for, I actually don't know. Like when you do jazz, what is solo jazz? Because jazz also feels to me like it's always kind of this ensemble of people who are actively trying to, create this thing together. What is solo jazz? Is that like a thing, or there?
I feel like you can do jazz as a single person, like scat, right? That's just one person.
Well, and there's very prominent, I couldn't name them, solo jazz artists, but you know what I'm saying? Like, is jazz more frequently referred to as an ensemble, or what would be solo? I don't know. I'm fully owning my ignorance here.
Nice. Well, we'll just see. Let's phone a friend, or let's ask a crowd. Ask the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Studio said that he was told that Barcelona was modeled upside down using fabrics with regards to that church, and I guess just generally the city. I think that's awesome.
Parabolic curve.
Yeah. Yeah,
like so much of the arcs and stuff was determined by hanging and then creating that's a little bit of my limited understanding.
That's not even, so we're not even joking at this point.
Yeah.
All right, so I searched for solo jazz on the YouTube, and what I get is basically that a bunch of images for that 80s or 90s pattern that was on solo cups for parties. It's got this kind of teal brush, kind of zigzaggy, and then a purple line drawn on top of that. I feel like nobody knows what that is, but I see it all the time now.
I mean, are you talking like, it almost sounds like a red solo cup?
Well, yeah, but apparently this design, this blue and purple design, is literally called jazz.
Oh.
And was created for solo to put on their paper cups, not their plastic cups. That's crazy. So literally, I just looked up brand name solo, like the company that makes solo cups. Wow, that's bonkers. I need to disambiguate with word music. Yeah, I'm just gonna call it. You can't look up stuff at Jazz. That is one of those things that is like the information on the internet is as wild and kind of just out of hand, just like the music.
And we don't have anybody in our illustrious audience who's throwing
maybe,
themselves
but
out
right
as
now-
the Jazz.
Right now, we're all talking about Barcelona, which I think is infinitely more fascinating. Anyway.
Oh, wow. Shots fired. You get some... Somebody out there is gotta throw down on you. Throwing Jazz under the bus so easily.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. We're going to try to leverage... that's not going to work. I wonder if this one will. You know, hack together something for a way to connect these and then move forward.
Okay, what we got here? Yeah, Kegi thinks it sounds like bright lights. The gremlins are saying bright lights whenever you say that little bit.
Bye bye.
And Lawrence stepped up and totally supported my disdain, maybe, for Jazz. He stepped he went even further and said Jazz has no musical merit whatsoever, which...
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, hopefully
That's
this,
bold.
maybe hopefully he's in a safe place. I don't know. He's not.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know where to go.
I'm trying to think of, I'm thinking of the movie La La Land and the idea of real jazz versus popularized jazz and all kinds of ways to... I'm sure somebody would be furious, but... Let's see.
Well, I don't care enough one way or another to have a strong opinion.
Nope.
So there you go.
Guess what? I think we're pretty close. Let's call that...
Now, so what was your color scheme going on there? Is that just so you can clearly tell the different tiers?
Nope. I just paint everything. Nah, for a moment that one piece was getting especially distracting to me, so
All right, I'll allow it.
thank you. Okay. That is not perfect, and we'll skip this other smaller building down here, but hey.
That's just where they keep the operatic lawnmower and the heater.
Yeah. All right, so again, in the interest of we'll see what we can do with another 15 minutes, but see if we can render this like it was sort of a massing model. And
Yeah. It looks great.
we'll throw a few of these. I created just some generic people. Oops.
Oh, that's what you're doing there at the beginning, is you're just making 2D Australians or tourists. Actually, right now, they would have to be Australians because you're not allowed in Australia if you're not Australian.
That.
All right. Peggy said, damn fine effort. So
Sweet.
if there's anyone that's been making the case for this building, he's the one. I like how you went brown, so these kind of look like they're kind of a clay sculpture.
Yeah, it does at this point.
Philip also said, much respect for that. So there you go.
Sweet. Thanks, guys. All right.
So what are you going to do with this? Did you leave yourself
Okay.
any time with V-Ray? Feels like, in my experience with V-Ray, that's almost basically adding another hour onto it. But that's because I have to try and remember how to turn everything on.
Indeed. Let's try it. We've got I think we can get into trouble in 15 or 20 minutes. And I'm curious to see what this will look like. There's elements of this, right, that are going to show up once we render it that are unresolved that we need to, pay a little attention to. But stuff that, oh well, we'll just keep going. Let's just keep on keeping on. See what we can do.
I want to see some V-Ray. Let's do it.
Here we go. We're gonna start. We're just gonna cut this short. Just cut this off here.
Jody, you don't look ready. You don't look ready for this.
Oh, sorry.
Are you ready?
Okay, now I'm ready.
All right. Just making sure.
Yeah, no, I wasn't ready. I was slightly distracted. It's true. Not anymore. A hush has fallen over the chat as well. So I think that this is hole in the one time. Hole in one or putting or whenever it is the hush falls over the crowd.
So first of all, this is, however, this is still at full scale. We'll pretend we could obviously just shrink this down. We'll shrink it down something, but let's do a couple things. Let's set up a quick kind of studio. Let me turn shadows off again so we can hustle through this. So I'm going to create a basic shape like this that wait, that's not what I want. I want to do so we're going to create a kind of white backdrop for us to render against. Jody, when we were at Google, did you ever get over to their studio. They had a big studio that was just this, where they had built in a wall. They had this big, huge curve that some studios did.
Huh. Just like it in the main building, main campus.
Yeah, and at one point there was a project that I was going to go help them model that entire space out so that they could do some visualization of kind of changing it up depending on what they were doing. But then they sold us, so there's that.
Well, there's that. You don't sound bitter, I guess.
Let's take this and let's quick grab. It'll be tiny in here. Let's search the old warehouse and grab a simple table. I should be careful about searching the warehouse in real time. That we're getting exactly what we'd expect. A whole mess of not what we want.
This looks like just an elaborate version of the big, like the cylinder people used to put around their buildings with skies so that they could create a realistic looking background that worked from all angles.
Yeah. This is not ideally what I'd want, but we'll make it work. So let's say we've got this model. We're going to put it on our table.
Save. Oh, that one was bad.
Oh, that's the one nice thing about recording it, having a sample, is it's always the same. Although maybe that's bad. Like right now, you could have totally gone jazz style and just sort of riffed, sort of playing with it.
Save.
There you go.
You know what? I'm going to kick this table. Let's just put it in here. All right.
Eric said, "Let me know if you want me to take over from here."
Oh, he either stuck around or came back.
What I want you to do, my friend, is to run away quickly before you, your brain explodes.
Pull out all of your hair.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just do this with a simple background for now.
I feel like
What?
the way you are cautioning Eric to get away while you're about to go into V-Ray is the way I feel that you should get away if you're watching me modeling in SketchUp. Like, you don't want to be here for this. He doesn't want to be here for this.
We're gonna add. So I've got the V-Ray lights and I've got the V-Ray main toolbar open. I'm just gonna add. What's this even called? We'll call it a rectangle light. Hey, that is very innovative. Rectangle light.
Nice.
And when
You're
we get
just
into
making this stuff as you
V-Ray,
go. It's amazing.
I know, right? So, a couple things when you're rendering. I am not a rendering guru, and let me take a moment to plug that we have a V-Ray course in campus that Eric has done. He is far more an expert. And he gives a lot of, not just how to use V-Ray, but a lot of really great, how to think about rendering, how to set up your model for success, and how to set up V-Ray for success, and how to combine and keep in mind that when you are going to go towards a render, there's a lot of things that you can set up to make your life easier and get great results. So, sometime later, Eric, you can give me a lot of grief over. I'm just going to take this. And one of the things that he advocates that is entirely true is to set up your views. Set up your camera, know what you're going to do first, So in our example, we may say, a view like this. But I'm not going to strictly follow that. We're just riffing here. But it is a good advice. Where are my scenes?
Not to completely derail this or potentially blow your mind, but apparently Matt Stone and Trey Parker are looking to buy Casa Bonita in Denver.
What?
No way.
What?
If you don't live in Denver, then you don't appreciate that it is kind of a, I don't know, it's a heritage piece, right? It is.
Holy
It's
cow!
a definitive piece of Denver culture.
The sopapillas are so good.
They're the
It's
only thing
worth
that's
eating,
good.
right?
Okay, real quick, I'm going to start doing some test renders, but you can see we've got our box light set up here. If you make this bigger, it's kind of like making your box bigger and you can get softer. We'll start here. I think that's true. And then we'll add another light over here in a moment. But Nick, why don't you take a moment, since you'll be not with us, sadly. Why don't you tell everybody about Casa Bonita while I do some test renders?
Oh man, I haven't been there in a long time. Jody might be better at. When's the last time you were there, Jody?
I've never been, honestly.
Wait!
What's
What?
funny is we had a Casa Bonita in Oklahoma whenever I was growing up, but it wasn't the same kind of thing. So yeah, I keep meaning to, I've been to Disney World, so give me a break. I can only do so many things in any given decade.
You've never been.
I guess I
to
can't go now.
Bonita.
I missed my chance.
You kind of
Ah,
Yeah, Casa Bonita is a well-known, horrible Mexican food place in Denver, but the ambiance is amazing. You've got cliff divers and people in gorilla suits running around, and everybody I know goes there. You have to buy something if you go there. So everybody goes and basically just gets sopapillas, and then they just sort of soak it in. Because otherwise, like your nachos have the cheese that they pour out of a can. I'm presuming that's kind of par for all the food there.
But what you're not, and real quick, I'm turning off the sunlight. I don't want that, and then I'm kind of tweaking the rectangle, and then another couple of settings. If we look in here, let's just say, let's take our camera, and with our one light active, I'll see how much the exposure value. So tweak your camera and your initial light. I'm going to take that down just a little more. Something like that, where I have enough light in the scene, and then I want to add another light as a fill light, but you kind of want to get your lighting working before you start adding more lights. The thing about Casa Bonita that I wish you could appreciate, Jody, you haven't been there, is not the funny thing about it. The thing you riff on is that the food is so terrible. But
Yeah.
it's in you go to this strip mall, this rundown strip mall, and you go in the door and you're like, oh, what could possibly be in here? But you don't realize that it like goes back and takes up half of the space. It is huge. It is cavernous. It is ginormous inside there, and you have to order food, and it's not very good. Although of the few times I went, they got a little better, but you can't appreciate. You go in and it opens up, and it's this massive space, and the seating is not like, it has multi-tiered levels, and so you're going to go on all these pathways up to some place where you're going to be seated, and there's people seated on all these tiers all over. In the middle is this great big swimming pool and actual waterfall where there are occasionally people doing dives off of it. It's themed like it's an old Western thing, and sometimes they'll have actors come out and pretend like, oh, somebody stole some money and now they're having a shootout to see who gets the money, and somebody gets shot and falls down the cliff and they fall into the water. It is incredibly just like this experience, because you go inside and you're like, what could possibly be in here? And it's huge, and it's wild. It's so wild, and then it's such an experience that's worth doing.
Well, I hope that the South Park boys manage to bring it back and they don't ruin it and just turn it into a big all things South Park.
I can't imagine that they would.
Nah, I'm sure that they probably have the same amount of reverence that you just expressed.
I mean, you've seen the episodes, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how many there've been.
They I don't know if they ever, like, the only episode I know of is they're trying to go to Casa Bonita, the kids are, and things keep getting in the way. And that's the whole episode, is how things keep getting in the way. And you never actually get inside Casa Bonita in the South Park episode. Quick note on the rendering, I copied this, and these are components, this light. So if I look over here, I still have one, but I want to make this one a softer light. So I'm going to right click on it, and just like a component, you can say make unique, and then it'll show up here. And I'm going to turn this one down, let's say to 30. And then let's see what happens. Point lights?
Point lights as well. Yeah.
Yes. So if we look over here, it's like we can create an omni light, point lights, spotlight. So there's a lot of, bunch of lights that we could create here. If we look and we render it, yeah, let's turn our interactive render on again. You see sort of what's happening. Looks actually like, like a real scene that we'd set up. So
can we add some depth of field?
Yeah, huh?
As well.
Nice setup. So here we go.
Way to feed them lines.
Add that bokeh.
So let's go into our basic settings, and that's where the camera is. And where is it? Depth of field. Let's turn that on. I'm going to update this scene.
What settings do they have for depth of field in there?
So if we look, what you can do is the amount of defocus, is kind of turning your aperture. So if I say I want I can actually pick a point. So in here, if I want my focus source, I'll pick, say, back here. So I'll pick that edge right there. And now if we turn our focus up, and sometimes this doesn't update with this, but if I go tweak the lights or something, like it jogs it. But yeah, you can see how now we're getting depth of field in here.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
A real thing.
Yeah, I haven't used V-Ray before, so
This
very
is
interesting.
This is definitely seeming less cumbersome than the last time I tried to use V-Ray. So that's good.
The thing about that, I think they did really nicely. So it can be intimidating, right? There's still so many things going on in here. And they simplified it a lot, and you can expand and get into deeper settings. But the base, if you came in here and you're like, okay, there's a few tabs, there's a few basic settings, and you just stuck to a few basics, you can get around and kind of have some fun. Interactive render, which I can stop, and then I can start like a full render. But let's just stick with interactive for one more moment and apply. If I come over, so they have a ton of materials in here. I'm not very good at materials, but I saw that they had this chipboard material. So if I look under materials, and under here are just some basic stuff. So lights, and this is materials. Oh, I've got some. Let's stop this interactive and come over to our materials for a second. Which may be hidden because the V-Ray will always stick up on top. So let's purge materials for a second. And that'll get us back to, yeah. There's a way in V-Ray we could override the materials. I will just use the default, or, yeah, again, there's better ways to set this up. If I said, do that. And once you get into materials, it's really helpful to name your materials because then you replace them. But so if we go back to V-Ray, you can see our materials reflect exactly what's in the model. So we have model 1, and I'm just going to drag this chipboard model over, and I will say select objects in scene, which is saying select any object that has this material. We already kind of had that selected. And then I right click on this chipboard and say apply to selection. Sometimes it doesn't show up, but as soon as I orbit and draw attention back here, you see sort of it applied that chipboard material. So let's come back and see what that looks like.
I like it. I also wanted to answer D-Cube's question. He asked if there was HDRIs supported, and it looks like there is HDRI support. They have it named as V-Ray bitmaps.
Yes. If you look, yes, the short answer is yes, and actually Eric covers how to set those up and do some custom HDRIs. So again, campus, go look at our campus V-Ray course. They're all free, and he'll teach you how to do that. He'll teach you.
And the link's a couple messages up for that course.
Sweet. I'm not going to drag anybody else through kind of the going through this any more than what we have. So let me set up a final view here. Let's call it like this. And then do a final render. So I'm going to turn that off and go to final render. Under the settings, I should check. There's a couple other things that would be worth, if I do this fly out, worth looking at. Global illumination is on. Ambient occlusion is not. Sometimes helps to turn that on. Here's where that material override was. So we could just override everything in the model. But let's just leave this as is and go to, what am I looking for here? Render output. So right now it's kind of small. Let's say there's an option here for safe frame, and you can see that it's giving me kind of what's going to be rendered, so that you can match your render and your SketchUp model exactly, which is awesome, like if you're going to do some composite stuff. So that is an option, but I think with all that done, let's just go over here and render it. And given that there's only 2 lights and not too much going on in the model, this should be, oh, I should have, there's a couple different rendering modes, and Probably could have done one that would give us a little more indication. But anyway, I think our depth of field is turned up too high. That's okay. Let's call it. I think it'd be fun to go in and change a few of these materials, especially since these big panels are glass, and have those be kind of, at least in the model, a plastic or something. And if we really wanted this to look like a model, yeah, we could bring a better table in, set this on it, have some fun with that. But that, let's call it.
I think it looks great.
Yeah, it looks sweet.
It looks like it's made out of clay, like you just clayed it.
Yeah.
It's just like you used V clay, not V Ray. Just saying. Oh no!
Oh snap!
I need a soundboard. Keggy said he knew you could do it. I also knew you could do it.
Ah, thanks.
I like how not only did you do it, but you then rendered it too. It's like the double whammy of. That's like a slam dunk.
I want to see what these. We didn't take the time to do these. I want to see if this even mattered, like this shell kind of texture. Let's see if that would be worth doing on more of them. So, where's our... How does that look? Of course, we need a light back here, but... Oh, we better, for a second, let's turn off... Let's turn off depth of field. I said we were done, but I was just kidding. I was kidding. We're not. I'm still playing around here.
Get some backlight on there. Ooh.
Yeah, let's throw
Stepping
one
up.
more.
Jody cannot be replaced.
Who said Jody
yeah.
could be replaced? I don't understand. No, he can't.
Philip was wondering who was replacing me next time.
Oh. Jody cannot be replaced.
I plan to be here next Friday, or whenever the next one is. So far, no replacement. As far as replacing Tyson, Aaron will be the one doing the live stream next week, right? Probably.
I assume.
You will,
And-
Jody. You're live streaming next week.
Nice. I'll be a voice in the head of whoever is live streaming, and that'll be your last time to be a voice in the head of.
Be my last voice in the head of the streamer.
I feel like you should get to pick what we model. Whomever models, you should get to pick it.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I know. Especially if you don't choose something besides that Barcelona church.
Let's do an 8-hour live stream.
We're gonna start next Thursday and keep going.
Yep. I'll think about it. Think about it.
If you're doing that church or anything like it, as long as it's Aaron.
Yeah, that church would haunt me. I don't feel like you can like it's a completely different level than the Sydney Opera House. Which, I'll be honest, Tyson, you for 2 hours and 20 minutes, you moved mountains.
Ah, thanks. I'll do a simple override here.
Andy's rendering. It's crazy. It's a crazy
Yeah.
day.
It's bonkers.
Alternate reality. Tyson shifted space and time modeling Sydney Opera House.
Space and time. Is that our cue in to talk about Loki? I've still got 2 episodes to go, but I'm almost done.
Well, let me just tell you how it ends. I'm just kidding. The most I'll say is that they did say there'll be a season 2, which means
Oh, that's fun.
there's more story to be told.
I don't know if Jody or Nick, if you know, Aaron is our resident kind of go back to the comics and expert on those, but I'm very curious now how much the TVA and sort of what some of the storylines around that was in the comics, because I did not know much about them.
Yeah, I have no idea how much of this show mapped to comics.
We'll have to
That's
ask
good,
Aaron
though.
next week.
That's right. Tune in next week for Aaron's thoughts.
Everything's an ad here.
That's right. Meanwhile, Nick's going to be scouring the internet for new sounds for the soundboard.
Matt's gonna be back next week. I'm gonna lose my job.
No, I want you
Oh
guys
no,
to
he's
do
not.
it.
He's not
Oh, is
back
he going?
next week.
Is he going to be on his honeymoon?
Yeah, I don't think he'll be back next Friday. I'll keep
Oh.
my job.
Nice.
Or maybe he comes back on Friday. I don't know. We're gonna find out.
Well,
Look at that.
You better get your soundboard game on point, so that just in case. Yeah.
This is kind of fun abstract. Let's end on this one. We'll just leave it here. Okay, shout out. So again, we're gonna have Luke Whitelock, I believe, on Wednesday. Amazing designer for the entertainment industry, film industry. So that's going to be awesome. Next Friday, we're going to see what Aaron kind of cooks up. Anything else, guys, that were worth shouting out?
I don't know. I think we should give a round of applause to Tyson at least.
Yeah.
This was great.
Yeah.
This was great.
The laughter.
Nice. Oh, yeah. I was like, there's a laugh back in there.
Yeah. Well, happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. Hope everybody is doing well, doing safe, and thank you for joining us. It's great to have you here. Thanks for your patience, your comments, and until next time.
All the above.
Yeah,
Your presence.
that's right.
Sweet. Aaron's got his work cut out for him to try and top this.
He can model some chocolate syrup on it then. Top it. I'm sorry.
A little cherry,
We should have
crush
left.
some peanuts.
Oh no. Okay, that's terrible. Let's leave on that.
Okay.